Bonjour and welcome to a new unboxing video, and I'm extremely excited today. Once again, you're going to say, because I mean, you remember I showed you those beautiful Star Trek toys from Playmates Bandai with the phaser and the Enterprise, and I had told you that the action figures were going to arrive soon, and they have arrived. They're here in this box. So we've got the full of Wave 1. And I'm going to show you all that, and we're going to discover them all together. So first of all, we do have Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. One thing to know, once again, is that there are different packaging. In the US, those come in a retro packaging that looks like the old Playmates packaging from the 90s. In Europe, we are getting the same packaging for all the characters, which is the Star Trek universe packaging. So this is the front of the packaging. You see there is always a picture of the character, and in the back you've got the list of all the characters that are in the series, including also a Q code. You do have a Q code here. The funny thing is that there are so many misspelling and typos on those packaging. It's actually hilarious, including in English and in French and probably the other languages as well. And for example, Discovery has been called Découverte for some reason, whereas I mean the name of the series is Discovery absolutely everywhere as far as I know. So it's rather funny. That's the perils of using Google Translate or machine translation. It's rather funny. Anyway, so this is Commander Data with the first one. Then we do have Commander Riker, and we do have, to complete the first three Next Generation, we have of course Jean-Luc Picard. And so that's the three for the Next Generation. Then for Discovery, Découverte, we do have Saru, and I'm not showing you the back because the back is the same on all of the figures. We do have Saru, and we do have, I'm going to show them in order, we do have Michael Burnham, of course, and then for Classic we do have three Wrath of Kahn figures. We do have Admiral James T. Kirk. We do have, of course, Captain Spock, and we do have Khan, because of course that's the three that you need to have. So here you go. That's the 6 figures from this web. We're going to open them. Yes, we're going to have a look at them. One thing that's important to note is that on the front of the packaging, not only the image of the character is different, but you have a different ship. This is of course the Enterprise 1701A. Then you do have the Discovery on those ones, and you do have the Enterprise D on those ones. So they are really doing something. I do like those packaging. I think they're really good fun. And well, we're going to discover what it contains. I'm going to make some space because, as you can see, it's all a bit crowded at the moment. So I'm going to put those back down and to make some space for us, and we're going to open all of them. They're just so we're going to start with Mr. Kahn. Now, it's got a lot of accessories. It's interesting because I find that the accessories in that are very similar to the accessories that were in the Playmates figures of the 1990s. So here you go. Here is Khan. It looks really very good. It's got lots of articulation. So it's got, of course, the head, which appears to be well, tilting a bit. We do have, of course, the arm, which is on a pivot. We do have the elbow, and we do have the wrist here. We do have no waist. That's interesting. And we do have the hip, the knee, and we do have an articulation in the foot, so they are quite nicely articulated, very nicely detailed, as you can see, and they come with a little stand exactly like the Playmates figures of the 90s, except this is a more simple symbol. So we're going to put it on his stand, if I can manage that. Here we go. And he does have his accessories. One is the Genesis machine, if you remember from Star Trek 2, and he's got his little prong, as well as a bowl of SETI Alpha 6 slug, or whatever they were called, those bugs. And he's got, of course, a phaser. So that's actually quite a complete figure. As usual, it's funny because I remember back in the 90s when they were doing the Star Trek figures at Playmates, they always had too many accessories, so you couldn't really use all the accessories for the figures, because they could only carry some of them. So anyway, I'm going to try and go a bit faster now. Let's continue with the classic ones, as that's what we've started with. So we've got Spock and Kirk. So let's see, we've got him. So here we go. We do have Captain Spock. Of course, they always have to do the live long and prosper thing, but I find it's not always the best idea, because, well, it does limit what you can do with the figure. So here we go. Here is Captain Spock. Once again, a very nice figure, and of course he comes with his little stand. So we're going to put it on his little stand. That will prevent him from falling while I'm doing the unboxing, even though this might be, let's try this way, it might be better. Yes. The accessories he's got are a little scanner, which is exactly like the scanner the figure had in the 90s, and he's got a this is actually a tricorder, even though it's quite big. Of course, the thing is with that type of articulation, because as I was saying earlier, we do have a problem, because one of his hands is being used already by the Vulcan sign. We can always only give him one of his accessories, or if we don't do that, here we go, we can also give him the gloves from the engineering at the end of Star Trek 2, and they are actually they open here, and you can actually fit them, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to try and accelerate, because otherwise we're going to be there for a few hours. I know you'd love to hear me talk for hours. Oh, that came more easily. So here is Admiral Kirk. I noticed one thing. It is they could have actually used the same body as they did for Spock, but it's actually a different body shape, which is really nice. That's actually something that I was expecting them to do, which was to use the same body for all the uniforms, but visibly not. He does have a phaser that I've already put. He does have like a sort of tablet, and he does have a communicator, which is a bit like the communicator from Star Trek the Motion Picture that you actually put on his wrist, but which is weird, because of course never had one of those in Wrath of Kahn. So, but that's another very cool figure. I'm just trying to make sure that it doesn't fall while I'm doing the video. That's why I'm putting them on the stand. Normally I wouldn't bother, but it's just so here you go. Here is Kirk again. I mean, the likeness is actually very good. What's interesting is that when I first saw them, I was thinking, oh, they do look a bit cheap, and actually no, they don't. They are really, when you have them in your hand, they don't look as cheap as on the picture. So we're going to get to next generation, because let's do them in series orders while we are at it. So here we go. We do have Jean-Luc Picard. Once again, it's very, very good likeness. The thing that looks odd is that they haven't painted the faces. So basically, that's why it looks a bit odd. Because usually when you add the paint job on the head, they look a bit nicer. But you really get the whole sculpt like that, which I think is really nice. So Jean-Luc Picard is sold, and that's what I was saying, is sold with the same Type 1 phaser that came in the 90s. At least it looks exactly the same, including with the phaser beam. It does have also an open tricorder. It does have a pad. And he does have his little computer console, and I mean, that's definitely the type of accessories that he had at the time. So it's, in a way, it's nice, because I think that for nostalgia purposes, it's actually nice to have the same accessories. But I found that some of those accessories, notably the fact that they had the laser beam from the phaser, was not really a very, very nice accessory. At least for me, I didn't like this very much. But anyway, let's go to the next one. We still got 4 to go. Yeah, once again, it looks like Riker has the same accessories as he had in the 90s. I mean, there is this handheld scanner, which was very much what he had at the time. We do have, once again, we do have a tricorder, and we do have this time a Type 2 phaser, and we do have a little pad. And he does have that accessory that a lot of figures had in at the time. And does it open? Yes, it's actually open. It's the engineering case, and with the molded bits inside. But if I remember well, you can actually put the scanner in exactly like you could in the 1990s, which is rather cool. See, so here is Commander Riker. I mean, very, very nice figure once again. I'm wondering, is it the same body? Yes, it looks like for Next Generation they used the same body. I'm not quite sure, but they look very, very similar. So they may not have changed the bodies, which makes sense. I mean, the differences are a bit more I would say anecdotic. So it's not as different as Kirk and Spock, because Spock is Leonard Nimoy was very thin, and William Shatner was a bit more muscular, I'm going to say. Otherwise, if I say something else, I mean, I'm going to have William Shatner fans going after me, because they don't like me to say that kind of thing. But yeah, he's a bit chunkier. So here we go, and we do have, of course, now the third one from the Next Generation, which is Lieutenant Commander Data. So far, I have to admit that I'm rather happy with what I'm seeing. That is very funny for this one, because once again, he has exactly the same accessory as Data had, which is the type 2 phaser, but with the little handle that you can move around. I mean, he did have that. He does have the he does have the tricorder, and same thing, the tricorder has the little handle to put it in his hand. And more funny, because of course that's a different figure, so it doesn't make any sense to have this. It's got this diagnostic tool, and the reason why it's a bit ridiculous to have it is because in the older figure from the 90s, the first Data had little trapdoors on his body so that you could actually do a diagnostic. So there were little holes, and you could actually use the diagnostic tool. Whereas now you do have the diagnostic tool, but it doesn't serve much purpose because he can't diagnose himself, which is a bit of a shame. Right, let's try and see. And here we go. Here is Mr. Data. Looks really, really great. I do like him. Is it the same body? Yes, it definitely is the same body shape as the two others. So here we go. I'm going to show you the back, but I mean, you know what a Star Trek Next Generation uniform looks like, so it's just a bit odd to actually do a 360 for all of them. And we are reaching the last two, which are the Discovery figures. The interesting thing as well is that I've noticed, I just forgot to tell you that the accessories on the American sets for the retro packaging, they do have actually the list of accessories at the front, whereas of course on those they don't. And I actually saw some of the American packaging, and there were misspelling absolutely everywhere, including accessories instead of accessories, and quite a few other little things. So let's see. This looks like a tricorder, but a tiny little tricorder from Discovery. We do have a book. I expect it's Alice in Wonderland, because she was a fan of Alice in Wonderland. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read. So you're going. Maybe you can read that. But I suppose because she's talking about Alice in Wonderland in the first series of Discovery, I suppose it's going to be that. And then we do have the phaser here, and oddly enough for this, the base is actually in the platform, whereas for the other ones it was in a little plastic bag in the back of the platform. So that's interesting that there is a slight difference for those. So here we go. Here is Michael Burnham. She looks really good. She really does. I think it's a very good likeness. Of course, the paint on the eye paint job on the eye may not be the best always, but that's a very, very cool figure. It's nicely detailed. I'm going to give her something to hold. Always nice to actually test if the accessories hold in the hand. The thing to be aware of, and I find that it's a problem on a lot of action figures nowadays, is that the articulations are a bit hard at first, mostly the elbow, and if you force them you risk actually breaking them. So that's one thing that I've noticed, and it's because of that type of articulation that it can happen. But it's a great great figure. It's just that when you see the articulation, you want to bend it and it won't bend. You really have to be careful and twist it a little bit before you can do this, because of course it's on the pivot. That's the problem. You've got the double articulation on those, and so you have to be careful with the elbows, because you're tempted to force it and they will break. And that's something that happens with a lot of figures. NECA, for example, is a culprit. The new Mego bodies, the bandless bodies by Mego, have that. I wouldn't call that an issue. It's just that we're not used to that type of articulation on, and we tend to expect it to work one way, whereas in fact it works in a completely different way. So be careful and be aware of that when you open toys, but I'm sure most of you are keeping them in package anyway. So so what does he have? He does have, of course, a little tricorder. He has, of course, a phaser. He has, of course, a base, and he does have a nice Kelpian knife, which appeared in a few episodes. So it's actually nice that they seem to make sure that characters are have a more personal item as an accessory. So as we had the book with Burnham, and now we've got the knife with Saru. Let's get that. It's a bit stuck. Here we go. And here is Saru. Very sorry about that. So here is Saru. Very, very good figure once again. It's really, really nice. Of course, he does have his little hooves. So let's see if it affects. It's always the thing with, of course, it's got articulated ankles, so that you can actually yeah, that's actually nice for him to have the articulated ankles, because of course he's a very spindly. Does he? Yes, he does stand. Let's see what the size difference with Burnham, because that's important, as he is a tall character. So he is slightly taller than Burnham. Let's see the difference with, let's say, Data, and yeah, he is also slightly taller than Data, so that's cool. They respected the size difference between the characters. So, and here we go. We've got the 8 figures. So we do have Michael Burnham and Saru from Discovery. We do have Data and Riker and Picard from Next Generation, and Kahn, Spock, and Kirk for the classic movie. So that's the whole of Wave 1. I mean, you actually have now in front of you the whole of Wave 1, because we do have the ship, the phaser, and the 8 figures. So that's all for Wave 1 at the moment. I think it's the whole complete Wave 1 of figures from Playmates and Bandai in Europe. They are very cool. I'm really, really very glad that I've got those, and they are much better than what I expected. They are going to release a wave of figures which will be all about the Prodigy characters, and then we're going to wait for an announcement for the proper Wave 2 with a mix of character again. I suspect there will be some strange new worlds, some Picard series, more Discovery, more classic, Next Generation, hopefully some Deep Space Nine and Voyager. It would be nice to have absolutely all the series represented anyway. And well, that's been a very long video, so I hope you've been here until the end, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.